There is no try, either do or do not. Now, I often think of that Yoda quote when someone gives me a document to read and says, "You'll find all the information you need there." And I look at it and I have to troll through this document digging for the information I need because they've not put any effort into structuring it in a way that makes it easy to understand. It's a bit like going into a restaurant and ordering a meal and your waiter turning up and just throwing the ingredients on the table and say, "There you go, make what you can of that." So when I read a book by John Moon and I found this information about how to structure a document, I was really excited because I really loved it. Now, the guy's called John Moon, and the title of his book is, and I'm going to have to get a quote, this is the title of his book, How to Make an Impact, Influence, Inform, and Impress with Your Reports, Presentations, and Business Documents. Yeah, no wonder I could never remember it. He should have taken his own advice. And Mr. Moon does say his idea is great for a PowerPoint slide deck. And I think, no. A slide deck is a visual aid. You have to think visually. His ideas, though, I think, are brilliant for documents. Let me show you why. Here we have a standard document, just a bunch of bullet points and a rather bland title. Okay? Mid-range, not the best, not the worst document I've seen. Now I've made 3 changes here. First of all, I've given a summary at the top. I've given my opinion, which is what people want to hear. Then I've split them into 2 groups, good findings, bad findings. You don't have to use these group titles, you can choose your own. And finally, what I've done, I've ordered them in order of goodest finding down to least good, and baddest down to least bad at the bottom. Now what have I done? I've put them in columns, with the good findings on the left column and the bad ones on the right, because I want people to read the good ones first, and because we read from left to right, that's where the eye will go first. I've done one other thing a little bit ahead of time. I've enlarged the font of the summary to make it easier to read, but more about that in a second. Now I've done something else here. What have I done? It's a little bit difficult to see. So this is the new one. That's the old one. New one, old one, new one. If you look closely, you can see I've added headings to each finding. A subtitle, you could say. Now it's a little bit trickier to see in this context until we go to the next page. I've bolded them to make them easier to see. We'll call this typographical contrast. They don't have to be bold. You could use font size, italics, or even color. Now what have I done? Well, what I've done is added 2 more columns and put the headings in the columns, the subheadings. So you've got the subheading on the left and information about that to the right. What's missing? What's missing are bullet points, because you don't need them. It's good to remember that bullets are for killing people, any more than 3, and it's going to make it very difficult for your reader to understand your information. Now what have I done? I've put them in tables. The mind seems to like structure, and tables work very well. That's why newspapers haven't changed in 200 years. Now some people sometimes say, well, is this good finding connected to this bad finding because they're in this table here? And I think, okay, I'll make one more change just for those people. There you go. Created a nice little gap down here, which separates them into this column of good findings and this column of bad findings. Now, if you think there's not much of a difference, let's compare it to the original. There you go. A dense mass of bullet points, which doesn't make you look forward to reading it. Whereas this, a lot easier. Let's say you're interested in staff turnover. You can look down here quickly, then get to staff turnover, read it, and then go into more detail if you want to. Is you've reduced the amount of effort your reader has to put in to understand your information by about at least 80 to 90%. And that can't be a bad thing. So there you go. Follow this process a few times until it becomes second nature. And not only will people understand your documents and like reading them, they'll look forward to it. Because if you don't put any effort into being understood, you can't blame people if they don't understand.